Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I am watching Star Trek for the first time from the beginning. Joining me this week is my old friend and resident Trekkie, Nate. Join us now as we discuss the next 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation: The Offspring, Sins of the Father, and Allegiance. Now, make it so. Should we talk about some Star Trek? Let's
Hard
go.
cut.
All right. So, oh shit, I should have updated these notes before. All right,
Way to go.
I know. All right, so 3 episodes this week. Start out. An admiral thinks the kids aren't all right, while Data says you're gonna go far, kid, until Lal has gone away in The Offspring.
I really wish I had known that you were going to do that before I took a drink of whiskey.
I
That'd be
thought of
funny.
that. I thought of that like an hour ago. I was just like, "Oh, there's got to be something," and
Well,
there
that's
it is. That
bloody
was
brilliant.
way better. That was way better than, I mean, not to like throw my shoulder out, pat myself on the back, but that was way better than Paramount's description of Data becomes a father when he creates an android using a transfer of his own neural programming. Ugh, whatever. Uh,
Makes that episode sound really boring. What'd you think?
um, so this episode, it wasn't Code of Honor or The Child bad, but it wasn't good. I feel like I'm being generous and giving it a 5 because it was not a good episode. I want to love all of these episodes, and it was just, ugh. I wrote down I jot down my notes for things that are happening in the episode, quotes and all that. And then I have kind of my general thoughts that I'll compile at the end. And I wrote one in the middle of it. I was like 20 minutes in, don't really care for this episode. An interesting discussion on what it means to be human, but not as well executed as other episodes. I hope it picks up.
Okay.
And yeah, it was not a very good episode.
Hmm. It's interesting.
Yeah. Would you give it?
This might be one of those episodes, and we don't have these very often where we diverge by wide margins. In fact, I think it's been a while.
Yeah.
We diverge by a wide margin.
Hmm.
Um, I
So you
really
give it a
enjoy this
1.
episode. I've always really enjoyed this episode. I gave it a 9. Uh,
Jesus.
and I just want to put for context, just to
Not okay. Oh, hang on. Uh, so this is the German version of the podcast, and you gave this episode a strict no.
zero. No, no, it is not the German version this week. Next week, I will do my best to brush off what little German I actually know. Um, and it is funny. I'll just tell you why you're wrong, because even
Okay.
the IMDb rating for this episode is 8.5.
Okay.
So
I must have missed something then, because I was not impressed. This
I'm
episode just
curious.
did nothing for me.
Abby's
I
not here, but Abby knows this episode. Did she talk about it at all?
So when she asked what episodes we were gonna do for this week, and I told her starting with The Offspring, she went kind of like, ugh.
Wow. I mean, I think that just seals it. I'm a better Star Trek fan than both of you.
All
God.
right. Hey, you're picking up 4 points on me on this one. I think I might still be ahead overall
You might. We'll have to do that math at
in our
some point.
completely subjective ratings here.
Yeah, right.
But
Super
yeah,
scientific. What are
I
you talking
there
about?
there were so many things, like it was close, but I feel like it missed on almost everything. Like it was close to having a very interesting conversation about what it means to be human. And again, we're seeing that through Data's eyes as Data is trying to teach somebody what it means to be human. And then just seeing kind of that juxtaposition between what Law was able to do that Data can't, like use contractions. And Data could recognize that he could not use contractions and that she did. So it's like he gets that, but um, and just seeing like a difference between uh, what are some of my notes here? Uh, Data was really exhibiting the difference between knowing facts and understanding something. Because he could spout off all the facts in the world, but they didn't mean anything to him. It's like if you look at letters on the writing on a page, it's just a bunch of lines that have no inherent meaning except for the meaning that we give them, but we can infer that meaning, which Data is incapable of doing.
Right.
And Lol was also, even though she was better at processing than Data might have been. But again, it was like that could have been a really, really interesting conversation, and it was just kind of flat. It just there were some funny moments, so I think that's why I gave it a five instead of going just flat out four, saying it was bad. But like there were some funny moments, like when she kissed Riker.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was hilarious. But I found myself thinking, so some of the notes I made in this episode have almost nothing to do with the episode. And it was just a one-off line here, an observation I made. Like, are there cameras in the view screens? Because it's like if I'm going to make it seem like I'm making eye contact with you here, I need to be staring down at the bottom
Yeah,
of my monitor to look into the camera, but then I'm not actually seeing you.
right.
But in the episodes, it's like they're making eye contact and all that. And obviously it's a screen and not actually making that eye contact and all that because it's a TV show. But like the theory behind it, do they have a camera like behind the screen, like say
I
almost
would
a
assume.
teleprompter? Um,
Yeah.
and then Law said at one point, "Why is the sky black?" And then that led me down a trail thinking like, okay, what is the sky when you're in space? I mean, we look up and we see black and stars and we say that's the night sky, but is that a perspective that we take just from the ground or from Earth? Would we take that same perspective? Do the astronauts in the space station look out the window and think, "Wow, the sky is really vast today," or like that kind of terminology?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about stuff like that because I thought that was more interesting than the episode.
See, I think you came at it from a different direction than I did as I'm
Hmm.
sitting here listening to you. Uh, you came at it from, I think there's two perspectives in this episode
Hmm.
of, or two things that are really being analyzed. One of them is, the exploration of humanity, which is
Hmm.
kind of what you're talking about, right? I
Yeah.
think the other one is the exploration of parenting
Hmm.
and how, as parents, we all strive to, create a version of ourselves that is better, right?
Hmm.
We hope that our children find more success in their life than we did, regardless of how successful we were, right? We always want them to do a little better and a little better. And it's
Hmm.
so it's kind of that journey of him trying to take Lal on that with obviously the twist at the end of, no parent should ever outlive their children, right? And,
Hmm.
and so he gets that side of it too. So he gets in a very condensed period of time, kind of the full gamut of parenting, the good and the bad. And I think that exploration is probably far more interesting than the exploration of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess and that's where I think it was close, but it just fell flat. And maybe it was that the episode almost didn't know what its message was intended to be at parts of it because it seemed early on like Data was talking like he was a father to Lal and all of that. And Picard was just like, it's not the same. And I
But
can't
by
help
the
but
end,
think it's
he
not
felt differently
the
about that.
same. Yeah. And there was that shift. And the Admiral kind of shifted his attitude too.
Yep.
But all of that felt forced and borderline after school specially. Uh, I kind of felt maybe I just need to revisit this one and see it
Yeah.
differently.
I
But
mean,
yeah, it just
I think it doesn't
I
hurt. I mean, I'm not
maybe
going
I
to
was
call it.
just not in the right headspace to watch this one. But yeah, it felt like maybe a couple minor changes and it could have been a really great episode, but for whatever reason, it just didn't do it for me. Even though I did laugh out loud, I think, when Data said, Commander, what are your intentions toward my daughter?
Yeah, it's such a great scene. Look, I don't think this isn't a trouble or triple situation where
Mm-mm.
you just are completely wrong, and I'm not going to let you, back off of that point.
I gave
Like,
that one a 7 at first,
I don't
and then
care.
I
It's
bumped it up to an 8.
a 10 episode. But I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think, like I said, I'm coming at it from, I think, a different perspective
Hmm.
and seeing it in a different way. And I don't know. I have always kind of really appreciated this episode. Um, I love the emotional highs and the lows. I love the exploration of, the creation of life, right?
Hmm.
It is kind of a is Data alive episode all over again, and so we're
Hmm.
exploring that.
And
Um,
I think that's where I was focused on it. And I just felt there were so many other of those episodes that are better.
and that's fair. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think there's good lines in it. Um, there's I don't know. I like this episode. And I have a hard time getting off of that point, which is
And that's
fine.
fair.
We can agree to disagree, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not
we
how this
can
works.
agree to disagree on this one. Yeah. I thought it was it like I said, I didn't hate the episode, but the more I've thought about it over the last day or so, the less I like it. Like I said, there are those moments that made me laugh, but it was close, but not quite. And that's almost tougher to rate than something that's just outright bad
Right.
because there were humorous elements to it. There was thought-provoking stuff. It did address some like profound, deep things, but it was just it was close, but just missed the mark. And yeah, it's one of those where I'll probably find this one a pretty forgettable episode, and then I'll watch it again in a year or two and just be like, why didn't I like that? That was awesome.
Possible. I mean, look,
Or I'll
like
be like, Nate's out of his damn mind.
also possible. But you could be right. I mean, there's certainly times where you're just not in the mood for something, right?
Right.
And maybe
Yeah.
that's the case. Maybe it wasn't. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm going through my notes. I mean, I have a lot of dialogue, but I don't know that any of it's worth really going over.
Now, if Data is capable of recognizing contractions
Yep.
and recognizing that Lal was able to use one,
hmm
why can't he use them?
I can recognize how to drive an F1 car, but I bet I can't drive an F1 car.
I would imagine I would put money on the under if you set the line at 1.5 feet to drive an F1 car. I would
100%.
hammer the under.
I
But
look,
I think that's different than
is it though?
saying if you can make those sounds, you understand what they mean, and there's nothing.
I mean, it's a silly plot point,
Yeah. He could say beehive, but can't say I've,
right?
while he understands that means I have.
Yep.
So,
Okay, let me
and
let me put it to you a different way.
mhm,
I can understand Spanish. I cannot
yes,
speak Spanish.
yes, but you can understand English. And if somebody is speaking English and says an English word that is a grammatical thing that you also understand, and you're as like superhuman as Data would be, that
Yeah,
seems
I mean,
like I
I
don't
think
I
it's a,
don't quite understand how he has that limitation. He can recognize that limitation given what that limitation is. It's
my
not I
guess,
understand how somebody can lift 1,000 pounds. I can't do it,
right?
but it's that kind of it's not that. It's wow, you use this grammatical thing I'm incapable of saying, but what is the reason he can't say it?
So I mean, I think I'm not gonna argue that point because I,
Hmm.
I do understand, right? But I think part of it is when you talk about like robot
Hmm.
characters, um, they don't use contractions. So it's part of the
Hmm.
kind of robotic nature is they're very specific and they spell everything out. And so they're making a differentiation between him and Lal in that she not only looks human, right?
Hmm.
She doesn't have the
She's
yellow eyes
behaving
and
more
the
human than
she's
he is.
behaving more human too. So I think for whatever reason the writer decided to kind of make that delineation and call that out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's what they picked.
And then I honestly, I think that kind of pulled me out of the episode because then it got me thinking, like, has Data used any contractions at all? Has
Not as
one
part of
slipped in one of the early episodes when they're still figuring stuff out?
Sounds
I've
like we need
not
to go do a rewatch before next week with
of
all the
of
stuff
the
finding
of
it.
the first like 60 episodes of
Yeah,
next gen. So
get after it, man.
yeah, again, it
That's
was
only
that
60 hours.
that's
That's like
stuff.
a week and a half of work
Yeah,
time. Like,
yeah. It
and
just
you can
took me a
fast
little
forward through
bit
any scenes that
out
don't
of
have
it.
data in it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, he's not there. See, you could probably get this done in 20 hours or less.
Oh yeah. Or I could just probably ask ChatGPT.
Probably.
So yeah, it was that kind of stuff that I thought it was an interesting scene, but it was one of those that it just I can't quite grasp how if Data is capable of learning certain things, unless the programming says you cannot use contractions, which would be a weird thing to program, but weird stuff gets programmed.
Yep.
So yeah, that just pulled me out of it a little bit, and I felt the episode was a bunch of stuff like that, where it was just like, could be good, funny. I see what they're doing. I see what they're showing, but it just, I got pulled out of the story of it, and there you go.
I'm sort of curious to know where we go from here on these three episodes, but we'll get there.
All
Um,
right, should we move on?
do you want some trivia?
Yeah, let's hear some trivia.
There's not a ton, but this is the first Star Trek TV episode to be directed by an actor from the show,
Oh, I didn't see who directed it. Was it
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes? Hmm.
In fact, he only appears in one scene. If you remember at the beginning of the episode, they make a point to
Yeah,
say
because
he's gone.
he was I first my second my was it my first note was Riker was away on personal leave. So I was like, oh, I wonder that's and then he showed up for a bit, but yeah, that would make sense if
So he only appears minimally so that Jonathan Frakes could spend more time directing behind the camera.
hmm. And then he
Let's
wanted to be in the funniest scene in the episode.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, wouldn't he would have fought for that scene?
Oh yeah.
That
It
could have
was
gone to LaForge
it
or any
was it
commercial.
was it was so good.
But that's my scene. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Um, So the name Lal is explained by Picard in a supplemental log. It's coming from the Hindi for beloved. While it
Hmm.
is a term of endearment, it is more appropriately translated as dear or darling and used when addressing males, specifically children.
Hmm.
Um, the origin
Interesting.
in endearment context of the word may lie in Persian or Pashto, where it means garnet or ruby.
Hmm. Okay.
And you kind of hit on this, but when Lal asks, why is the sky black? It is a play on the often asked question by children, why is the sky blue? Albeit from a
Hmm.
different perspective.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
and that one got me thinking like, what would you call it in
yeah.
space? Because I don't feel like
Is it the
I would call
sky?
it the sky,
Yeah, I
but
get
at the
it.
same time, like I said, when we look up at the night sky, we see probably similar, fewer stars, but we call that the night sky. And how would that be different if we're up 3 miles or 10 or 100 miles or whatever it is to get, yeah, not 3 miles, but if we're up 100 miles, 200 miles, wherever the space station is, how would that be really different? The perspective, not all that much different, other than less light pollution. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's the bulk of it. Most of it's not that interesting. So
All right.
I think we can move on to the next one.
So if I had taken more time, I would have found Offspring songs for all three of these
That
episodes. Um,
was very
I did
fun.
not for this one. So the next episode, when Worf's long lost brother, another instance where Paramount should have buried the lead, appears on the Enterprise, Worf is thrust into a life or death battle for his family's honor in episode 17, Sins of the Father.
We've met his brother before, though, haven't we?
I don't think so. Because it seemed to me that until the big reveal going into
Yeah.
probably the second commercial break, Worf didn't even know he had a brother. Or
Maybe
at
I'm just
least,
misremembering. I'll be honest. I mean, I watched these episodes like 2.5 weeks ago.
yeah.
So, I thought we had, but I'm okay with being wrong, and I'm trying to figure that out right now. Um, because Tony Todd is an incredible actor who's been in like goddamn everything.
Hmm.
And he
Is that
died
who
last
played
year.
Kern?
Yeah, he's who played Kern.
Okay.
And he played other things in Star Trek as well. I don't know that we've
Hmm.
seen any of those yet, but um,
Okay.
he's been. I mean, it takes so damn long to even find what he was in. Oh yeah, this is the first time. All right,
So
got it.
with this episode, I actually watched it twice today.
Okay,
The first time I watched it, I was a bit distracted
okay,
and I felt like I was missing pieces of it.
okay.
Um, I generally though felt like it was a really tight, well executed episode
Hmm.
with what I did pay close attention to. I
Okay,
thought it was fun seeing the Klingon world building.
yeah.
Worf episodes are always fun. Uh, some of the Worf episodes have been just awesome in building out that character, building the world. So I had a very positive feeling, even though I was like, I missed some stuff. So I watched it again,
Hmm.
and it is such a fast-paced episode.
Really
It
is.
is just non-stop
They
shit
cover a
happening.
ton of ground.
They
This
cover
should be a
so
two-parter.
much. So as I'm watching it again, I'm just like, man, did I just not miss that much? Because, like, I feel like I remember all this, kind of. Like, I'm not going to say remember. I feel like I recognize all of this, but like, I did get a little bit distracted even the second time watching through it. But yeah, I thought this was a great episode. I gave it an 8, and it's one that I feel I could watch it 5 more times and probably pick up a ton of new stuff every single time because it was that fast, that just boom, 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 boom. Just it was a non-stop episode, but at the same time, it felt like two different episodes
Hmm.
because you've got the exchange program going on, and you've got Kern coming to the Enterprise, and then the big reveal that he's Worf's brother and bringing out the Klingon in him. And then that turns into, well, here's why I'm really here. And all of a sudden, we're on whatever their planet's called. I didn't pick up on that. But with the Klingon High Council, and all of a sudden, we're on a Klingon courtroom drama. And it was just, again, just boom, 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 just exposition, detail after detail, and like revealing big stuff, but so quickly that if you glance away, you're going to miss it. And it's just like, wait, who did what now?
Yep.
And so I don't know if that takes away from the episode. I don't think it really did. Um, but it is one that I think, yeah, I could watch, like I said, five more times and pick up more each time. Yeah, this episode was awesome.
So I didn't think we could get further apart than we did on the last episode. And I'm really happy to say that we didn't here either. Uh,
I was like, damn.
oh no, I gave it an
That
eight
means you're
too.
going a
No,
three on
I'll
this
just
one. Holy
no.
shit.
I gave it an eight. No, this is again for all the reasons you laid out, like such a really good episode. And I think the only thing I can really fault it for is it being so fast paced and so
Hmm.
packed with stuff. I really, really do think that if this could have been a two-part episode, it could have been better. Um,
This is one that I think would have been better as an original series episode that was about 51 minutes long instead of
yeah,
42
I
because
could get behind
they could have slowed it down a bit, or this one would have been perfect for a streaming service where they can just take whatever time they need to tell the story. There was so much lore. This may have been one of the most lore heavy episodes we've
I mean,
seen in a
I
while.
I think they built out more of the Klingon society in this 42-minute episode than they have
Hmm.
in everything else previous to it combined.
I think that's, yeah. My general thoughts notes here. I said it's always fun to see the world building around Worf and Klingon society.
Yep.
So it's crazy to think how different the Klingons are now than when we were introduced to them back in the original series. Because
Hmm.
I remember thinking then, like, I don't know all that much about the Klingons, but I know Worf exists, and this doesn't look like Worf.
You're right.
So to see what they are now versus then, and then my last note there was the lore is so deep.
I mean,
And
down to
that,
the language. I
yeah.
know we've talked about this before, but that's a real language.
Hmm.
It's grammatically correct. The whole works.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I think the only issue, so I made the criticism before. Yeah, Paramount should bury the lead on their. I mean, I'll give them all the business advice in the world because I'm clearly an expert, but they should. I do try to avoid seeing the episode descriptions because I don't want spoilers.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, saying when Worf's long lost brother, I mean, they didn't reveal that until about 10 or 12 minutes into the episode. So it's like, they could have buried that lead a bit because that I get the feeling that if you're watching that live when it's first airing and you get that reveal and then boom, commercial break for 4 minutes, it's like that's gonna be a like,
Yeah.
what?
As a cold open, I would
It
be.
wasn't the cold open
I
either.
know it wasn't the cold open. If it had been the cold
Yeah.
open,
Yeah, but that was, I think, what would have been going into the second commercial break.
yeah,
So,
it was well into the episode
yeah.
because Kern was kind of establishing himself as the first officer
Yep.
and basically giving everyone crap for being shit at their jobs, but really leaning hard into Worf, right?
Yep.
Just until Worf pulls him aside and is basically like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? That
Right.
a lot of this starts to come out, right?
Yep. And yeah, it was I the only things I would think detracted from the episode, and if you give it if you give it the time and the attention that it needs to really grasp everything that, like I said, I'm sure I have not yet grasped, it just moves a little too fast where it's easy to miss things.
Mhm.
It's easy to miss all of a sudden. Like if you glance away for 10 or 30 seconds, you're going to miss some big points. And then you're going to be left with like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why is he saying what is happening now?
What is this
And
old lady? Where did she come from? Like,
right. So it just moved a bit too fast, but given again the time constraints and all of that, the storytelling constraints, it was a really great episode. Um, so it's one that I would love to see a an original series episode of it where they've got that extra 7 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever they had, or a streaming service where they could have said, you know what, we can slow down two or three of these scenes, let it simmer, let it
yeah.
marinate a little bit, and then just go keep it that super fast pace because that really worked for the episode, but slow it down enough that you can actually not, it was just so rapid fire that it was tough to keep up with sometimes. I
So,
mean, granted, I was watching it while I had it on. I won't say entirely in the background, but there were other things going on
yep.
simultaneously, so I'm not just sitting there glued to the TV.
And
But
that's my problem is I can't do that because I will just tune out. Like if I'm doing anything else, I will tune
yeah.
it out.
Hmm.
And so when I do these, it's like pure focus.
Yeah.
No
And I,
phone.
I try
I have
to I
my
try
iPad to take
to
notes, but like,
I try to as much as I can.
yep,
But yeah. And that's why I watched this one. I watched this one twice today because I was like, all right, I'm going to pick up on more that I missed. And why granted, it was because it was just so awesome. Yesterday's Enterprise, I think the day we talked about that one, I literally watched that episode 3 times that day. So I watched it once. I was like, this is the best episode I've seen. I'm going to watch it again. And then
yeah.
when Abby watched it that night or that afternoon, I was like, I'm just going to sit here and watch it again because this episode kicks ass.
Um, I always think it's interesting, like especially on the Klingon stuff. Um, because obviously I don't think these are really spoilers, but things like this come back, right? I mean, there's no reason for this to kind of be the end of that storyline. And
Yep.
I
And
think you
I
can
I
kind of
had
infer
questions
that
about
from the
that.
end of the episode, right?
Yep.
But it's always interesting to me from a narrative perspective, it makes sense, but from a realism perspective, I always find it interesting, like how close everyone is in Klingon society. Meaning, like Kaylest is Worf and Kern's nursemaid, but also Kim Peck's like former girlfriend, like
Hmm.
that he hasn't seen in decades and decades because she's pretending to be dead.
Hmm.
And that there seem to be, for as big as a society as the Klingons are, a very finite circle of like houses, like the House of Moog, the House of Duras, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I think some of that can be explained away by like maybe they're the elite houses in society. They're the Kennedys of Klingon
Yeah.
society kind of thing. Um, and so you can kind of hand wave that pretty easily. But it's always interesting to see that it's a relatively small group of people that their stories kind of interweave
Hmm.
and keep circling back around. Um, I don't know. I know they have to because otherwise you're doing a bunch of building every episode that
Right.
you want to incorporate this, so you kind of have to have that. But sometimes it feels a little inauthentic. Of like,
Yeah.
hmm.
So, yeah, I I was curious how this episode will have lasting impacts in the series and for the character.
Hmm.
If this was an original series episode, we'd move on and never hear about it again, probably ever.
Yep.
But
And aren't you glad
that's
this is
not
next gen?
that's not how next gen is working. And next gen, at the very least, references some of these other episodes and events that have
Yep.
happened. Or again, with the lore getting deeper and deeper, it references events that were referenced in other episodes, kind of building the
Yep.
mythology of it, which I think is so cool. But given how next gen is making more callbacks to prior episodes and events, I wonder what the ramifications of this episode are going to be. Now, I know you know because you've seen it all,
Mhm.
but I mean, my observation at this point is Worf is very self-conscious about his Klingon heritage, and he doesn't want to be seen as anything less than a full Klingon.
Yep.
He is a Starfleet officer, but he is, in his mind, Klingon first. Not Klingon army, Klingon empire, but Klingon race. And that is he doesn't want to be seen as anything less than that, particularly by other Klingons. Was it Kalar said like talk shit to him about how he
Mhm.
wasn't a good enough Klingon and that sent him
Yep.
off into a rage or whatever. Just really, really eats at him.
Right.
His brother, not knowing it was his brother at the time, talks shit about his Klingon-ness, and then he goes into this rage and he's just like, there it is,
Uh-huh.
kind of deal. So he really cares about that. So was I guess you can kind of extrapolate or guess what happens with that. Was it called discommendation?
Yep. I think so.
Um, so I wonder if he will be treated differently by other Klingons in the future, or if he'll just be looked at as still just, oh, well, you're sure you're a Klingon, but you're a Federation officer. You
Yeah.
you kind of gave that up. Um,
It is
because I mean
discount.
the other Klingons already seem to kind of look down on him as less than because he's a Federation officer.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Um,
they see the Federation as weak, right? It's not a warrior race.
right.
They're not a
So
military-driven society.
even though they're allied or at the very least they're at peace, they
Yes.
still look down on him. They seem to look down on him about that, and that really
And
gets to
that's
him.
not that uncommon, right? Like
Right.
even in the real world, you can have two nations that are allies or at least at peace, and one or both can look down on the other, right?
Right.
And that's just
Absolutely.
so
So I wonder how that discommendation works. If it's like I'm envisioning like the end of what was it, the second or the third John Wick movie when
mhm.
he basically gets the bounty put out on him and the message goes out to everybody and it's just written on the chalkboard up top. So is it something like that where all of a sudden it's just like Worf has
Yeah.
this now. He's wearing this Scarlet A or
Klingons don't
Scarlet
wanted.
K, I guess. And not a bounty to go kill him, but just this, is it common knowledge now that it's this? And
Yeah.
then was it basically him kind of renouncing his citizenship, or was it like him being basically kicked out and now being
I mean, it's
less
him.
than? Because they in the episode, I did look it up a little bit, but in the episode they talked about it or they basically referenced it and then they showed you the ceremony around it.
Yeah.
And that was it. And you can infer an awful lot from it of what it means. But it was like they also said, like, hey, we're just going to present this like you know what it is,
Yeah.
and you're going to be able to put together enough. So I mean, it's obviously a very negative thing. He's being
Yep.
shunned. He's being kind of cast out. Um, I did like the as the camera was going around to all of them crossing their arms and turning away, and then you see the guy behind Picard doing that, and Picard still facing forward with him. That I thought was a neat touch that they had,
It's
and
cool
just
cinematography.
the cinematography, the way they can tell that story, the way they tell that. There's so much in that one shot that just tells so much of a story, even if it's not going into the detail, you still see it all. And again, yeah, awesome episode.
So I think one of the things that's really interesting, and I don't remember if we've talked about this on the podcast or not. I have certainly, hey, I saw this in a like a YouTube video that was an analysis of Worf or somewhere. I don't take credit for this analysis at all, but I think it's interesting in here, which is as much as everyone gives him grief for, being a part of the Federation, being a Starfleet officer, not being a real Klingon. He didn't grow up with Klingons. He had human adoptive parents and the whole works. Worf is a very, very what I will call pure Klingon, like very rigid. These are the rules
Hmm.
of my society. I follow these rules to the letter, no matter what. And one of the analyses I had seen on it was, it's kind of an interesting thing because put yourself in Worf's shoes, growing up in human society, knowing that you're different and wanting
Hmm.
to explore your heritage. So you go out and you read and you research and you absorb all that stuff with no context whatsoever, right?
Hmm.
And so you kind of take it as gospel because it's written down in all of their
Hmm.
religious documents and their societal all documentation and this, that, and the other thing. And so when you do finally like interface with real Klingons, at times he feels almost over the top in comparison to them. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think it's super interesting for him then to be seen as an outsider, seen as a, not a real Klingon and have all this
Hmm.
stuff happen to him, even though he's literally the purest form in comparison to all of them, right?
Right. And that was so, again, with all the lore, fascinating to see at the end of the episode in just how shitty they were.
Yeah. Because
And
Duras is the one that is, not following the rules of society, and then by
right.
extension, the rest of them for allowing it to happen.
And
But
that they knowingly were doing that. They were knowingly putting him up as a scapegoat, but
Mhm.
then with the approach like, well, yeah, you're a Federation officer. You weren't supposed to come. It wasn't
Yeah,
supposed to be like this. And almost victim blaming, like,
huh?
yeah, it's kind of your fault that we're in this because you weren't supposed to come. We were just supposed to blame you and move on.
Right,
And
and avert a civil war by blaming the one guy that's not going to show up to defend himself. And oh,
right.
look, there he is.
But
Well,
then how they basically justified like, well, yeah, we have to execute you now and your brother. And he's just like, well, just let him go. Nobody knows. And he's like, no, because he's going to be honor bound to get revenge, and we don't want him blowing shit up.
yep,
So it was it was interesting, and I loved Picard's comment because Picard was just like, oh, fuck this. When he was like, you admit the truth and yet expect him to accept punishment. What
yep,
does this say about an empire who holds honor so dear?
hmm,
Uh, and yeah, it was such a yeah, that juxtaposition between the really the true believer and then the frauds
yeah,
and all of that. It was awesome. It's sad. It's really a tragic episode.
it really is.
Um, I mean, you see Worf get away. He keeps his life. His brother gets his life, but has to make a show of denouncing him, and
Help
clearly
you,
was struggling with it.
right?
Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Just yeah, I could see, like I said, picking up new stuff, watching this episode a bunch of times, and yeah, it was really good. I loved seeing that glimpse into Klingon society, and when you realize, like, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, if you look at anyone high up in government or organizations, and it can be like, oh yeah, so you're kind of full of shit, huh?
Hmm.
But
Picard's great in this episode too, by
yeah,
the way.
Picard is awesome. So. I don't have much more on this one. I guess a few awesome lines at the beginning. Uh, when Riker was giving some feedback, and he was like, I know this is not a Klingon ship. And he was like, no, it is not. If it were, I would have killed you for offering a suggestion.
Yeah.
And then when they're sitting there eating dinner, he's just like, I mean, I had to try pretty hard to not kill Riker. And then he's just like, I never kill anyone at a supper table, Mr. LaForge. I thought some of
Like
those lines were just great.
even earlier than that, like Wesley and Data are kind of like whispering at each other, and he turns around and goes, "Do you wish to speak, acting ensign Wesley
I know.
Crusher?" It was like, where's the middle name? Like that's the only thing that could have made
I
that
know.
line better.
Well,
Uh,
I made the note. I was like, okay, so Wesley is still an acting ensign because he emphasized acting. Um,
I love it.
but yeah, I thought, yeah, it was good. And again, you just see that juxtaposition between how the Klingons are and how they are. I love again the callbacks to other episodes when Riker was over on one of their ships. I'm blanking on the name of that episode, but that was another really good one. I
A matter of
think that was
honor.
what in season two.
Yeah,
Um,
a matter of honor.
A Matter of Honor. Yeah, that
We
was
like
another
that
really
episode. It's a
great
great
episode.
episode.
Yep. So yeah, any good trivia on this one, or move on to the last episode for the week?
There's a few again, not a ton, but there's some good ones in here. So in an interview, Michael Dorn revealed that the events of this episode altered his perception of Worf and influenced how he played the part from then on.
Nice.
Said there was a lot more involved in it than the writers realized. Things that have to do with Klingon loyalty and honor. They didn't give it its due. You look at Worf in a different light, and I played him in a different light since that episode. This is not something they have come up with. I'm doing this on my own. Hey, it's their fault. They wrote it, so now I'm going to carry on with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
Um, So this is the first Klingon story written by Ronald D. Moore, who would go on to be Star Trek's resident Klingon expert.
Oh,
Episode won an Emmy in 1990 for outstanding art direction. Could say that.
I mean the episode was awesome to see.
Yes. The set design was incredible. Let's
Yep.
see. Michael Dorn named this episode as one of his two favorites of Next Gen. I'm not going to
I
list the other one because we haven't seen it yet. So,
okay. Okay. But yeah,
uh,
definitely a Worf centric episode,
for
and
sure.
yeah, just yeah, so cool.
The other one, no, I'm gonna stop there. The other one's an interesting choice. Great episode, interesting choice.
Okay,
Uh, this is listed as one of the 10 essential episodes of The Next Generation in the 2008 reference book Star Trek 101.
I can see that.
Um, let's see. Let's see. They mention Riker's service on the PA and other events from Matter of Honor, as we just talked
Hmm.
about. So Charles Cooper, who plays Chancellor Kempek, also played General Cord in Star Trek V: The Final Frontier.
Hmm.
Because Star Trek V was so derided by fans and critics, it is virtually ignored in Star Trek canon, so no mention is ever made as to whether the characters are related in any way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, let's see here. That's about it.
All right.
That's the good stuff.
So we'll move on to the final episode of this week, episode 18. Without the crew's knowledge, Captain Picard is kidnapped and replaced by an evil imposter in Allegiance. So, were the imposters really evil per se?
That is certainly open to debate.
Or were they just misguided?
I would
Now,
lean towards
that mis
misguided than
that
evil.
misguided could appear evil
Mhm.
because they're doing things that could be interpreted as evil. But when you understand their reason, I feel like they were just kind of misguided, not really evil.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they were putting the Enterprise into some seemingly dangerous situations, but I never got the feeling that they were going to take it to its inevitable end. I feel like
Right.
at some
And I
point,
don't
like, okay, cool. Like, let's
and it
go back to
wasn't
work now.
and it
Uh,
wasn't like they were trying to kill everybody. They were just trying to learn. Now, there's a time and a place, and there are better ways to do that.
mhm.
But with them saying it was evil, I
Mm.
I think that's a stretch. And maybe that's just going with the episode description. They need to write 15 words to just give a quick summary. Um, but I think they could have said Captain Picard is kidnapped and replaced by an imposter.
Yeah,
And that would have been a fine one. Because I don't remember what the race was called, but they don't strike me, it didn't strike me as evil because I didn't feel like there was any malice in it. It was purely we're trying to fulfill some curiosity.
yep.
Now, again, inappropriate, horrible way to do it,
Yeah,
unacceptable, but evil, eh.
yeah,
With that said, I gave the episode a 7. I thought it was solid. It wasn't anything amazing, wasn't terrible. It was just an all-around good episode. Um, you see some interesting you see some fun moments with the crew coming together to solve the puzzle where they're all just like something's just a little bit off. And then Riker standing up to the not Picard, um, and getting that. I mean, to a point, this is one of those episodes it feels like we've seen a million times now
yeah,
because we've seen the different version of the characters throughout the original series, throughout Next Gen. We've seen it a handful of times at the very least. So it was nothing really new in terms of overall concept, but there was still enough that was new to it that I don't know. I thought it was interesting enough. Although I think the episode could be, or portions of the episode could be described as "No, you're sus," and it's basically Star Trek Among Us.
yeah, yeah. I could see that too. Um, I'm not far off from you on this one. I won't, tease it and say, "Oh, this is amazing." I gave it a 6.
Yeah,
I find this to
I
be eh, parts of it to be interesting, but all in all, it is a boring episode. And I knew that going in, like as soon as I saw the episode title, and I was like, God damn it, which episode is this? And then I looked at the description. I went, oh, it's that one. Ugh. And I watched it, and I think I took notes. I forgot to change tabs.
I did
Yeah,
not have many notes.
I took 19 lines of notes. So not a ton. Um, it was all right. Yeah, the tension in the room that they were in felt so fake.
Yep.
Like, I think we all could have guessed who the imposter was, probably almost immediately. Uh,
Yeah. I leaned early on towards the meditator guy, but they pushed pretty hard that it was him. And
yeah,
then there
so
were a
let's
few
usually
things that
decide it's not,
indicated
right?
the other. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it wasn't like a big shocking reveal,
No.
even if I early on would have been like, who do you think is the imposter here? I probably would have said the meditator guy. Um,
I
but
think
at the same
that
time, there wasn't anything that was like, oh, this is a shock that it was her.
I think the
Um,
scenes on the Enterprise are far more interesting than the scenes in that room.
yeah.
Like, especially the end when Picard ends up back on the Enterprise and they make a big deal about how primitive, oh, you use words and speech to communicate, and they do their thing. Like, that
Hmm.
was kind of fun to watch of like, okay, we'll show you. We can communicate a whole bunch with just some, eye movements and subtle
Hmm.
gestures that you don't understand and trap you in
Right.
the force field. Like, it was a very satisfying scene to watch that
Hmm.
happen.
It
Um,
was.
but by and large, I really enjoy kind of seeing evil Picard. I mean, I know we said it wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily evil, but in this case, like, good versus evil. It was, kind of
Right.
like one Star Trek episode where Kirk gets split
Yep.
into his good and evil halves. Like, it was kind of cool to see Picard be full of mischief and behaving erratically and doing things way out of character and
Right.
watching everyone around him go, "What is happening?
Yeah.
He's singing in 10 forward.
Yep.
What the heck is that?"
And his reactions when he starts putting together from other comments what was happening, him
Hmm.
just sitting there super uncomfortable was hilarious.
Yes.
When he's just like, "Well, sir, I find it hard to believe that I find it hard to believe you're that good a singer." When Riker said that, and he was just like, "Singer? What?" And then he's just like, "What
Yeah,
happened?"
what went on this
Um,
ship while I was gone? Oh, it's so funny.
but what's interesting is, again, kind of that almost discussion of how we can't make a perfect replica of somebody. Like,
Oh.
they replicated everything to the point of like the neurons and memories and all of that. So fake Picard had all those, but was still not
Hmm.
real Picard.
Hmm.
Did a great job playing it. And it was,
Now, was that
I mean,
intentional?
the differences got a bit more as the episode went on. Um, which would make sense because all of a sudden, even if you're starting at the same point, if you're standing here and clone is standing here, because it was effectively a clone,
Yes,
at least when they landed there, it's going to be, even if you have all the same memories, if you're standing a foot apart, you're going to have a different experience of different things, and that will start down a different path that then will diverge greatly as time progresses. Um, So yeah, I thought that was just an interesting exploration in the episode.
100%.
Yeah. Even with all of the same memories, all of the same DNA, all of the same everything,
But
still felt different.
I do wonder how much of that was intentional.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how much of that was like, because it was two of them basically, which is strange enough as it is, but how much of
Hmm.
it was, they wanted to start more like their subject and then start to push some of the boundaries as time goes on.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think, well, their whole thing was they were curious and they were trying to learn,
Yes.
I think. And then brings up a question, okay, how far is too far in pursuing that curiosity? But yeah, they were yeah, I guess I don't know. Yeah, intentional. When you first said that, I thought you meant intentional in the story. It's just like it was obviously very intentional in the story, but yeah, intentional
On their part to
by
kind of
those
deviate from the norm.
aliens to start to gather that information.
It was basically a scientific experiment. Like they
Yeah,
wanted to see how the ship would react to all of this.
yeah.
And so by its very nature, like they had to know that Picard would never intentionally endanger the ship. He might surrender it for no good reason, but
I
never
mean, I'm
intentionally
glad.
endanger.
I am so glad you've come around to
I just
understand.
had to throw that in there because it was too easy not to. And if I didn't, you probably would have. So I'm just trying to get
I
ahead of you.
I have I've I don't remember where in the episodes, but I did have thoughts on at least one or two of these episodes today. Like, oh, he's not really going to have an opportunity to surrender the ship in this episode.
Not at all.
And I
To be
talk all
fair,
this
it's been
shit,
a
and he
while.
did it twice. But granted, that's still two more times than Kirk did.
No, that we know of.
Yeah, yeah, nice cover.
Yeah. I don't know what else I have to say about this episode. It was
I
fun.
I have a few notes. I thought it was a fine episode. I think that's probably where I would describe it, and I use fine and good
Yeah.
as both rating as a seven. I'd say it's a low seven for sure, but yeah, it was fine. It was entertaining enough. I like. It was kind of fun seeing the crew all of the crew there without Picard,
Yeah.
and Riker obviously taking the lead. Um, and then kind of the showdown on the bridge at the end with Riker like basic basically saying like, no, this isn't a mutiny because you're not the captain. Kind of approach to it was a really good scene. So yeah,
I think
it was a
that,
perfectly enjoyable, forgettable episode, but well done. I mean, it's I feel like we're at that point now where most of these episodes are just they they're hitting their stride as a series where even even their episodes that are not as good on the season are still pretty solid episodes.
yep.
Because it's just speaking to the improving, growing quality of the show. Um, and that they're all getting better at what they're doing. Again, kind of the opposite trajectory of the original series, where by this point in season three, it was just like, I see why this is done. And right now it's like, oh yeah, I mean, even the not strong episodes are still fun enough to watch
Yeah.
and have good moments in them. And it's like, oh yeah, I could see this show going on for a lot longer.
Yep.
Um, whereas, yeah, 18 episodes into season three of the original series, like, is this over yet?
Yeah. Do we have to keep watching?
Yeah. So,
Um, I
yeah,
will say that
I don't have much to say on this one, much else to say on this one though.
there was one funny line in this that was only funny because my brain works in strange ways and made it funny. So, late in the episode, when Riker is confronting fake Picard, he goes, and they're in the ready room, and he goes, "What is our mission?" And in my brain, it immediately went to seek the Holy Grail. Uh, like, what is your quest? Like, I
I
don't know
wish I'd
why,
thought
but my
that.
brain just did that, and it made me laugh, and I wrote it
Hmm,
down because it was funny. Um,
that's pretty good.
I don't know, because I'm a nerd, and the random shit just pops into my head sometimes. So, oh,
Yeah.
it's such a great movie. I haven't watched that in forever.
Ah,
Anyway,
yeah. I haven't either. But yeah, yeah, it was. I like seeing the crew solving puzzles, trying to figure it out. It was, and you can almost see, like, in the way they presented the story. It's like we know that's not Picard. We know there's
yep,
something going on, but we don't know what. And so we're kind of a step ahead of the crew as they're discovering it and uncovering stuff, but at the same time, we're still on the same level as them,
yep.
uncovering certain things. So yeah, just yeah, entertaining, solid episode. Nothing particularly noteworthy, but yeah, just again speaking to just the increased quality, I think, of the series overall, where it's really for season three, just kind of an okay episode, but an okay episode for season three is still
Pretty
pretty
damn good.
decent episode overall.
Yep.
So I'll take it.
Certainly better than, again, referencing for the second time in this episode, The Child or Code of Honor,
Right.
right? We're still above
Yep.
that.
Right. So, um,
Only a little bit of trivia on this one, if you're ready for that.
yeah.
And this was a thing that I noticed. I was actually thinking about this earlier, um, leading up to this episode, but both The Offspring, which we talked about, and
Hmm.
Allegiance, with their minimal sets, were written in part to balance the series' budget after yesterday's Enterprise. It's effectively a bottle episode, right? Let's use
Makes
sets we already
sense.
have or build, that one super cheap, right? I'm sure they just threw
Yep.
some together that they already had and made it work.
Right.
Those Jello puck things that they had to eat looked thoroughly unappetizing. Uh, let's see. Picard's quarters are seen to be on deck nine, room 3601. So if you
Hmm.
were curious, the inspiration for Allegiance appears to have been Rod Serling's teleplay, Five Characters in Search of an Exit from 1961.
Hmm.
And then the song in which Picard's replica leads the crew is called Heart of Oak. This traditional British Navy song is the official march of the Royal Navy, the Royal Canadian Navy, and the Royal New Zealand Navy. Its
Hmm.
original lyrics are, "Come cheer up, my lads, 'tis to glory we steer, to add something more to this wonderful year. To honor we call you as free men, not slaves. For those who are so free as the sons of the waves. Heart of Oak are our ships, Heart of Oak are our men. We are always ready, steady boys, steady. We fight and will conquer again and again." The song is written in 1760 by David Garrick, an English actor, for one of its Drury Lane productions.
Hmm.
Note that LeVar Burton deliberately flubs the line, "To honor we call you as free men, not blah," as he played Kunta Kinte in Roots.
Hmm.
Kind of an interesting, like, I'm just gonna stick that in there real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Oh, the brief reaction shot of Worf on the bridge seeing Picard's doppelganger change into its true appearance is a stock shot taken from the survivors, as he is wearing an earlier version of the Starfleet uniform that was only used in the early part of the third season.
Hmm. That's
Um,
interesting when you learn more and kind of
yeah.
or pull back the curtain and see some of that stuff. It's interesting. Can either enhance the experience or take you out of it. To me, it enhances because I love knowing all of that just background
I know.
stuff.
I love the little details.
But I
Um,
could
I,
see that completely pulling you out of it.
I've still been watch or listening to, not as much lately, but when I have stuff going on, the it started as the Voyager watch through podcast with
Hmm.
to the cast from there, but now they've moved on to DS9, which they'd never watched, and they pulled two of the cast members from DS9 into it.
Hmm.
And it is super interesting to listen to them dissect those episodes and talk
Hmm.
about, what they see from, a cinematography standpoint, and for the DS9 cast members, what it was like to be on set and kind of things they were going through during that. And I don't know, I think that stuff's really interesting.
Hmm.
Um, the last one I'll leave us with is this is Captain Picard and Dr. Crusher's first kiss,
Hmm.
if you want to count it as such. Wasn't technically Picard, but
True.
there you go.
So first makes it seem like there's more to come.
Maybe.
But her looking at him at the end and then
Yeah.
him being so uncomfortable again was just that was a really good
I love
scene.
that that's the end of the episode too. Doctor, Captain, just staring.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So next time we will have three more:
Yep.
Captain's Holiday, Tin Man, and Hollow Pursuits. Yeah, we've got three more podcasts to wrap up season three.
So crazy,
Can't believe that we're this far
right?
in.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, I know there are fewer episodes in these seasons than there were in the original series.
uh,
So we're not quite surpassing where the original series was, but we're getting pretty dang close to
yeah,
more
I forgot how
next
long
gen.
season one is because it's 30 episodes of the original series.
Yep.
Then they do 26 and then
And then
24.
22 or 24.
Yep.
And so
And
we've got
then
26 episodes in this one. I don't remember how many were in season one, and I've got those notes somewhere else, but we
25
have
and
20,
1, 22 and 2,
22, and yeah.
23, 26 and 4, 5, 6, and
So
7.
a handful of episodes into season four, and we'll be past the original series in terms of length, which is crazy.
I'm
So
okay with that. Show
yeah. What?
This show only gets better.
Yeah, it's heading that way. So well, there you go. Worf sure let the bad times roll by accepting that discommendation. Okay, I promise I'm done with the Offspring references. Being a Klingon seems to be such an integral part of Worf's identity, so to effectively be excommunicated, rejected by his brethren, I'm interested to see what the impact will be moving forward. And I'm pretty sure this will come up again and again. I like that difference between Next Generation and the original series. The episodes have consequences with a greater impact than just that episode's resolution. It adds depth to the characters, to the series. The episodes are largely self contained, and you can watch just about any of them without seeing others and pick up enough, I would imagine at least, but for the loyal fans, there's just that little bit extra. I like it. And that feels like a good spot to wrap it up. I'll keep the outro short for this week. Thank you again for joining me through my first experience of Star Trek. If you're following along with us, next week we will be watching the next 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation: Captain's Holiday, Tin Man, and Hollow Pursuits. As always, if you enjoy what we're doing, please do us a favor and share with a friend. Also, leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at Baldly Go Podcast, To Baldly Go Podcast on Facebook, and to baldlygopodcast.com. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. Nate and I have another podcast, The InLap, in which we discuss each race weekend of the current Formula One season. You can get episodes of The InLap wherever you get your podcasts. For Nate, this is Aaron reminding you to never give up, never surrender. Not okay. Hang on. So this is the German version of the podcast, and you gave this episode a strict no.